Philip H. Anselmo here. I want to let you know, you're about to see a video from one of the great truth tellers of our time. Mr. William, you know him as Billy Ball. Take it away, William. No protection, execution, living life, living time. We're the family, that's when you're saving. This is family, I'm the only girl who's only trying to try to die.
So everyone has obviously heard about the terror attack in New Zealand at Christchurch. I was debating whether or not I wanted to do a video about it. The only reason for me to do a video about it is because I know a lot of people are going to be crying in my mentions. Oh, why aren't you doing a video on this terror attack? You do all these terror attacks from Islam. Why don't you do one from a white supremacist? Because honestly, what can I say about that terror attack that I can't say about any Islamic attack? It's horrific. It's disgusting. It's an act of evil, and I condemn terrorism in all its forms. So I wasn't sure if I was going to do one or not, you know. I didn't want to just appease the fucking people who are my critics. I'm honestly not here to appease anyone. I do what I want on my channel when I want because I want to. If I'm not into the topic of the video, I'm not gonna produce a good video. I've done that once or twice on my channel and I don't like it. That's why sometimes I won't do a video for a week because I really have nothing to say about any of these things. So I'm not just gonna make a video for making a video's sake. But then today something came up on the topic of the New Zealand terror attack that caught my attention and was something I wanted to talk about. It may not be as important to the world as the conversation about the terror attack itself, but it's something that involves something I like, music. Now, before I get into it, let's start off with something about the terror attack itself. I've listened to a lot of readings of the manifesto from the killer, and it's obvious he was a white nationalist. Now, the thing that drove him, according to him, to do this attack was the Islamic terror attacks and the influx of Muslim immigrants to his country and other Western nations. He was freaked out about the birth rate stats that we see going around and white genocide and all that nonsense, which I've already told people on my channel. Some of the stats are true. Certain groups of people procreate more than others. Some of his concerns were even legitimate, and I've stated that before. But I've also always stated it's where you go from there that matters. If you go down the path of freaking out about the stats of birth rates of Muslims, you're gonna have a problem sooner or later. You go down the path of wanting an ethno-state, or even something as crazy as this guy did, which was kill a bunch of people in a mosque. This is not the solution to that problem. There is something to be said for keeping white Western nations majority white. These are the best rated nations in the world besides like Japan. But freaking out about it and becoming reactionary is not the way to go. A lot of people didn't listen to me. I had some YouTube friends that thought this way and they kept freaking out and just concentrating on birth rates and all this stuff, and I told them it's not as drastic as it sounds. White people are not gonna disappear from the planet. It's just not gonna happen. And then you see how it goes. This guy was obviously into the internet culture. He knew his memes, which is why he screamed subscribe to PewDiePie. And his reaction to the facts of the matter were heinous, and it was not the correct path, which is why I told people you don't need an ethno-state to solve this problem. You're just going to add fuel to the fire and it's going to go back and forth and get worse and worse. Of course, people tell me I'm wrong, but then this happens. So anyway, how does this connect to music? Well, we have to go back to the beginning of my channel. The third video I ever made on this channel was a video about Philip Anselmo. It was called A New Level of Confidence and White Power. I think it was January or February of 2016. Phil was at a show, Dime Bash 2016. It's a memorial tour they do for Dimebag Darrell every year. And he was videoed giving the Nazi salute and screaming white power. And I defended Phil. And I talked about how I know Phil isn't a racist. And then about a year later, I made another video on the topic because he had an interview with Eddie Trunk. That video got over 500,000 views. It's now been struck down by YouTube. It no longer exists on my channel because somehow adding commentary to the interview was obviously hate speech for some reason, so it had to come down, even though the original interview is still up on the internet and has less views than my video. Anyway, after that, I was contacted by Phil Anselmo. He wanted to thank me for sticking up for him. And ever since then, I've been friendly with Phil. We email all the time. We talk on a Discord server actually here and there. I've had phone conversations with Phil. I met him in person. He invited me to his concerts. Phil is one of the most down-to-earth people you could ever meet. So I'm not here to defend whether Phil is racist or not because I've done that already. But I'm here to point out how stupid it is for what I just saw today that a couple of venues are doing in New Zealand. See, Phil left yesterday for Australia. He's starting a tour. And apparently 2 venues in New Zealand, which have tour dates for the end of March, have cancelled their shows. Why, you ask? Because of the Dime Bash incident from 2016. New Zealand venues cancel Philip Anselmo performances over 2016 Nazi salute and white power remarks from Dime Bash. Philip Anselmo's behavior in January 2016 Dime Bash has come back to haunt him again, as multiple venues in New Zealand have cancelled his scheduled solo shows in the aftermath of the horrific terrorist attack by a white supremacist in Christchurch, New Zealand mosque, which left 50 innocent people dead. Anselmo was scheduled to bring his Philip H. Anselmo and the Illegals band to Christchurch on March 26th and Auckland on the 27th, and both shows have been cancelled. Stuffco reports that Christchurch show was originally scheduled to go on at the venue Empire and then changed to Club Tavern. That club publicly announced they would not be letting the show move ahead with the following statement: "The Philip Anselmo gig has been cancelled. We do not and will not support white supremacy or racism." The Auckland venue, Galatos, announced their gig was cancelled shortly after as well. Galatos will not be hosting this show in our venue on the above date. Just today, information has come to hand which has made us uncomfortable about proceeding with the show. Ticket holders, please look to the promoter's website for further information. Now, why do I laugh at this? Because if this show went on, you would not be supporting white supremacy or racism because, like I said, Phil is not a racist. I've seen him interact with people of all races, and they fucking love the guy. If he was racist, they would fucking know. These are people he's known his whole life, basically, his whole musical career. I've stated before that Phil has at least 2 or 3 songs where he speaks against racism. He's literally advocated against it in his music. And then you're gonna sit there and tell me, well, I guess that shit doesn't matter because he did a Nazi salute. Fucking Jerry Seinfeld has done a Nazi salute. Are we gonna ban Jerry Seinfeld from New Zealand gigs?
A movie the other night, there was a World War II movie, and there was Nazis in the movie, and I noticed that the Nazis in those movies always had like 2 separate Heils. They had like the regular Heil that they would do.
This is basically just moral posturing and virtue signaling in my opinion. Because, let me ask you something. Why was the gig ever allowed to happen in the first place? Why only after this event is it cancelled? The show was set up before this happened. You didn't have a problem with what he did then, obviously, right? What, you're gonna tell me you didn't know about it? The venue didn't know who Phil Anselmo is and what he did 3 years ago? It was major fucking news. Seriously, I want to know the answer to that question. Why was the gig ever scheduled in the first place? You should have known about this, and there's no way you didn't know about this. It's only because this attack occurred. And it's really gonna do nothing to help the conversation of race move forward. It's not stopping white supremacists. It's not stopping anyone who subscribes to that ideology from doing anything violent to anyone. It's not helping anything. All you're doing is missing out on a good show. But you do put yourself out there as one of the good people who stands against racism. Let me ask you a question, guys. See, I'm against white supremacists. I'm also against black supremacists, Asian supremacists, whatever kind of ethnic supremacists there are. I'm against it in all cases. Yeah, I'll hear the people bitch now, but white supremacy is the only one that's actually done something. I'm sorry that they fucking were able to put together an army and your fucking supremacist group couldn't. I'm sorry that happened. I'm sorry there wasn't more evil supremacy out there to kill a bunch of people. But I'm against all those things. All racial supremacists are bad news. It's not a good look. It's not going to go well. It does nothing to help society progress in any good ways whatsoever. So I'll ask the venues in New Zealand, will you cancel Beyonce if she goes on tour there? Because, you know, here she is giving the Black Power symbol. Fist up. I mean, she did this at the Super Bowl too. Did it bother me? Not really. I think I complained about it a little bit, but not because of the Black Power symbols, because also mixed in with the Black Power fist was signs of Black Lives Matter, which I was against the Black Lives Matter movement because it's based on false premises. Black people throw the black fist up all the time. You don't see me making videos about it ever. I don't think I've ever made a video about people throwing up the black fist. But it's black supremacy. So I want people to be consistent. The problem is, like, the only racial supremacy people have a problem with seems to be white supremacy. Anyway, I guess I'll wrap this up by saying I think this is just stupid, and, you know, they're posturing for moral points here. It's like, oh, look at us, we're gonna condemn white supremacy all the time, we're gonna go back in history and find people that did fucked up shit, or jokes, or whatever it was, being drunk and just getting pissed at someone in the crowd. Whatever it was that made Phil do this, it was stupid and he regrets it. But to think you're gonna stop white supremacy because you stopped Phil Anselmo and the Legals from playing gigs in your country just makes you an idiot. The only way to stop racism is to have actual discussions about it, where people are allowed to say what they think and feel about it all. Instead of the discussions that are going on nowadays for the last 4 or 5 years, where everything one group says is racist and nothing else can be from the other side. That's not going to get us anywhere, because every group has their racists, no matter what you think. Anyway guys, have a good night.